Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. My name is Sandy. We've got Danita from the Italy project and Catherine from the Canada project. And Catherine was also, we gave her a short little break for this. She was in the presentation, the panel presentation earlier for how to do narrative beyond the birth, marriage, and death. And first thing off, I think that we should mention as we start this polish your profile on WikiTree presentation. A lot of people don't know what BMD is. Catherine, what is BMD?
Birth, marriage, and death.
That's kind of what we do to shortcut ourselves, right? Say everything. So what we're going to do, we're going to improve a profile that's on WikiTree, and we're going to use some WikiTree tricks of the trade that all three of us kind of use. And this person happens to be a notable. So Catherine's also going to throw in some information about what we should use and what we shouldn't use as we start to build the profile with sources and narrative. Because as we learned, what Catherine mentioned in the previous panel, copyright issues could be a problem. So right. Welcome everybody. The three of us are going to have a lot of fun with you guys. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. Very first thing that I need to let everybody know, if you are brand new to WikiTree and you have not added what we call extensions, some people call them apps, then I need to let you know that this presentation for polishing is going to use the WikiTree browser extension. It's going to use WikiTree B, and it's also going to use WikiTree Sorcerer. The three of us, we live by these items, and I'm going to go ahead and drop each one in the chat so you can learn more about them, how to install them, how to update them. And I will say that B is the only one that is not available for Apple products.
That's why I'm making that face, because that's what I use.
I'm a Mac, I'm a Mac person, but I use a Chromium type browser, so I can use all the Chrome extensions, and we use different tools for different things, and so I use this browser for what I'm doing WikiTree.
And if this is kind of new, this is, it's maybe 6 months old, maybe, but I'm going to click on this little star circle up here that has a couple of stars. And if I click on it, you're going to see some things change on my screen. What it's doing is highlighting everything on my screen that uses WikiTree browser extension. This is not going to be a WikiTree browser extension, WikiTree B or WikiTree Sorcerer class, because we would need about 4 or 5 weeks to do all three of those. It's a lot. WikiTree browser extension is what we call the extra goodies that are within WikiTree that lets us see things and add a little bit more information and little tricks and tools that we're going to show you. WikiTree B, I like to describe as things that are outside of WikiTree that we can use to capture and cut and paste or copy and paste and bring into WikiTree. It's not entirely accurate though, because there are some things with B that work only within WikiTree. But for our example, we're just going to say that it's mostly things outside of WikiTree that we're going to bring in. And WikiTree Sorcerer, that should be stop number 1 for every new WikiTreeer. Wouldn't you ladies agree?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just an easy way to go and grab sources and bring them in. So definitely check it out. And later in this week, I want to say Friday, but don't hold me to it. But later in this week is a day dedicated to WikiTree Tech. So if you want a little bit more information about that, definitely watch that entire day's worth of panels and ask questions. If you have any questions about this or any of the 3 apps that we just mentioned, you can also go into WikiTree Week's Discord channel and ask questions, because we're in there answering questions from everything that you see on Zoom, on YouTube, on the panels. We're answering questions all day long and all night long sometimes. And I agree. It truly is. Sorcerer is a game changer. But as with everything, you want to make sure that you look at what
Mhm.
it's bringing over and what's carrying over. I can't remember, and I know somebody in chat will remember, but in the United States, one of the states totally misindexed the census records. And I really want to say it's Alabama, but I can't remember for sure. But it was like the 1850 was indexed as 1860, so it got a little wonky. But Sorcerer is not going to know that.
Right.
They're going to capture the sources that are there and bring them over. It's not a Sorcerer, a WikiTree B, a WikiTree browser extension. They are not AI objects where they go and search and analyze. They just carry over. That's pretty much what. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. This is Joseph. Joseph has an absolute blank profile, and this is not what we want. We want to beef up his profile. And what's even more amazing, he's a notable. I know that because if you have a notable in WikiTree, they require you to have the Wikipedia link along with the Wikidata ID. And there's a couple more tricks that we can do to start. He has nothing really going for him. So I'm going to come over to Family Search, and I see he has 5 sources. And I apologize in advance. I only have my one monitor, so you're not going to see me grab the Sorcerer sources. But what you're going to do is click on this one, and I'm going to say build, and this part you can't see, I apologize, build all citations. What that does is it copies all 5 of those sources into my clipboard, and I'm going to come over to Joseph and click edit. I'm going to scroll down to where you see these sources, and I'm just going to give a little bit of space here, and I'm going to right click and say paste. Boom. Sources are there. Now, Denise and Catherine, do you remember when we used to have to go one, each source at a time and get the information? So we've got really good sources here. We've got a census, we've got military source, we've got marriage, we've got a death, and we've got a burial that we're going through. I don't know what you guys do. What do you guys do when you have these little extra items here? I do a C also, just to keep it separate from the sources. These, just it also is eye candy to me to keep it a little separate. As I scroll down, there we go. The preview lets me double check my work. It looks good. I got sources now, so already I'm doing better than what I had going on. I'm going to click over, and here's another little neat trick. If you like customizing your change, what you did, I could just say adding sources, but if you like customizing and having a certain text that you like for the change explanation, like for me, I'm part of the Appalachia project, I have added or updated the Appalachia sticker or category. You just click on this little wheel here, and it lets you add in whatever text you want to add. If you do something often for your project, like Anita could say the Italy project, and Catherine could say the Canada project, then you have that already in, and you don't have to keep typing it every time. Okay, I'm going to save it. Okay, so this is what we have now. We're making progress, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Danita, I need to ask, so does Sorcerer work for the sources that you use for Italy?
Well, not entirely, but we do have an app that lets us grab the sources from our main site, which is called Antonati, and we use it a lot. So we do have an add-on that we can use for Italy. But if it's we have a lot of people who are obviously in Family Search, so we can grab the sources from there if they're from in Family Search. So and Sorcerer can also do, you can either just grab the sources like Sandy did, or you can actually have them grab in like biography. What do they call it? In descriptions, like so-and-so was in the 1930 census as child living with blah, 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 blah. So it can actually do some text for you if you like. I usually end up, I don't use that so much because I use my own kind of stuff. But if you just want to have more, more description as to what actually happened in those facts, you can do it that way through Sorcerer as well.
And thank you for thank you for mentioning that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to his source here for his marriage. Back in the old times, you know what, 2 years ago, back in the medieval times, WikiTree, what we used to have to do is come and take this link, this whole citation, one at a time, and bring it over. And then Mr. Rob, who's a creator and genius behind Sorcerer, would go ahead and grab all of it now. So what I'm going to do, and again, I seriously apologize. I did not think this in advance for my extra screen. You're going to come up to this one where Sorcerer is, and there's something that's called a narrative, and that's what Danita was just mentioning. So if I click on just this source, I can get all the information, and then I can click the one. A drop down list will happen with build narrative with citation. And I'm going to show you what that looks like real quick. And this also, thank you, Danita, so much for mentioning that, because this brings us to our biography. If I drop what I just did by build the source with the narrative, you want to always have that above your sources line. Always above your sources line. If you just grab the sources and you do not want any narrative with that at all, it's always below the sources line. And the easiest way that I tell newbies to know the difference, if you have Sorcerer, use an asterisk below the sources line. If there's no asterisk involved, then dump it up top, because what it's doing is it's automatically putting in what we call ref tags. That's the beginning, and you see the slash, and that's the end. Well, that's why this little reference has to be there under the source's header. And these are called headers. I should have said that at the beginning. Those are called headers, and it's automatically per WikiTree's style guide. And if you notice, now my biography has some information up top. It has a little bit of narrative that Sorcerer created. I didn't do this. All I did was just copy and paste. And my sources now look different a little bit. It has a 1 versus the dot. If you use an asterisk in WikiTree, that's wiki code, it's going to leave that little dot. But if you use the narrative and you put your sources above, it's going to automatically do the citation for you down here. So it's going to give you the narrative. And this is exactly what Danita just mentioned. It's going to give you the narrative above, and it's going to link the source. And it took us, what, 5 seconds? It was only because I was slow on the mouse. That was probably the only reason. That was probably the only reason. And I don't know, we run into a lot of profiles where they are older, and it was difficult to go and bring one over at a time. But if you guys could please include a link with the source, if it's available, that helps future researchers and cousins that are looking for that information. Okay, I am going to just leave. I'm not going to save, because I want to show you guys a couple more tricks. I'm not related to this guy. I don't know this guy. I know nothing about him. I just know that he was born in Pennsylvania, and he died in West Virginia, and he's a notable. I found out by just random searching, browsing through Wikipedia, and I looked. He was not on WikiTree, so I said, oh, that'll be cool. Since I don't know a lot about him, and this isn't my direct ancestor, but let's say you're doing a connect-a-thon or something like that where you're adding a lot of profiles, one of my favorite tricks to do, again, because I don't know much about him, I'll come to the biography, and this is going to be a WikiTree browser extension, and I'll say add the birth and parent details. Now, he does not have parents listed, but if he did, they would list them here. But you see, just that 2 little clicks tells me the birth and the location. And why is that important? You will get what we call a DBE, a database error. Some people call them suggestions from your suggestion list if you have a blank biography. And as we know, as Catherine has told us, we don't want blank biographies. We want nice biographies. this is a start. This is nowhere near where we need to be, right? So now I have a little bit of a biography for them, and I have sources. You know what this does? This alone, and I'm going to say biography improvement, that alone keeps me in this profile that I am profile manager is I'll say without errors and suggestions on WikiTree.
Right.
I have dates up top. I have locations. And by the way, we spell out the names of the locations because believe it or not, there are people around this world that do not know that PA means Pennsylvania. So we spell everything out. You can use United States of America or United States. And then I have a short biography, and then I have census. This keeps me within WikiTree's guidelines for not getting an error. Okay. Now, let's say I want to add a little bit more information. I still don't have the parents. I could come down and do something called auto bio. And personally, if I get a lot of GEDCOM messies, I like auto bio. It's really good. But I need to caution you guys, when you use auto bio, sometimes it eats some of the information. So you got to be really careful.
It's important to know it does eat it from the main, what you're going to be left with, but it keeps everything that was there before. So you can always, if you say, oh my gosh, what happened? You can go down and look at what was in there before at the bottom of it and pull things back up if you need to. I'll give you a real quick trick too, because someone said something about research notes. If you have a research notes heading, you called it something else. I can't remember what you called it, but if you have a research note heading in your bio and you have things under the research note heading, auto bio won't mess with them. So if you've done a bunch of stuff and you think, oh, I just really want to run this through auto bio to see if I've missed anything, put a research note above what you've got there, and it will put in all the stuff it thinks is important, but you still got everything that you did, and it won't have gotten moved out of the way. It works really nicely to do that.
It helps you save time in your eyes, right? Your eyes, everything starts to kind of go together. This, you notice I have a biography of sources, biography of sources. This will give me an error. And the reason why I have it is because I did auto bio, but now I'm going to check before I save. I'm going to check and see, okay, this looks good. And what auto bio did, it converted my asterisks into inline sources. So it gave me a little bit more information. So Catherine, I'm getting better, right? On the biography.
Oh yeah, this is, and I give me an inline source citation any day of the week, and I'm a happy camper.
Yeah.
And now, instead of just having that Joseph, hey, he was born on this date here, I have a little bit more information. Now, this is only based off the sources I have. If I had more sources, I get more information. But now I can see that he was a single lodger in 1940, and he registered for the draft. So that tells me there's a military record going on. So as I go down, now here's the kind of wonky thing that happens sometimes. Auto bio won't always necessarily pick up certain things like the Wikidata data and the family search and the marriage and dump it in the biography narrative, but that's okay. If you have it on the page still, you can work with that. You can move the information, change it to narrative. I kind of just leave it where it is because this tells me that maybe there's a difference in spelling on the source that maybe I can go help over on family search or ancestry where I'm getting it. And then I scroll down and go, oh no, I've got a biography and sources again. Remember, I'm just in preview. And up here at the top, I can either undo the auto bio or delete it. And we're going to delete it. Now, the old bio, excuse me, not the auto. We're going to delete the old bio. And everything that it did, that it reformatted everything, is here. But the double biography, the asterisks, things like that are gone. They've now been reformatted to inline. But you know what else is really cool? It added categories for me automatically if they're there. If there's a one name study, it usually picks that up as well. Multiple locations it'll pick up, but you notice it only picked up one location there, and it's basing it off of the information we gave. So now I'm like, let me make this a little bit better. Why is it not picking up Kaler? So I'm going to come up here, and I call this the file cabinet. I don't know what everybody else says, but I call it the file cabinet. And it's the one with a lot of little lines down. And you'll notice it says enter text here. This is a really, really cool thing. So you don't have to type in the whole thing. So let's say it's K. I can't remember how to spell it. Is it K with nor with an E, with an O, with an A? And I don't know. So I'm going to do a space, and I'm going to start typing in Pennsylvania. Well, that tells me that this location might not be a category in in Pennsylvania. Right. And that's why AutoBio didn't pick it up. If you need category help, I highly recommend you go to GGG and ask for it to be created for you. And that's something that you can easily do. I think I missed that. I think it's up top. Let me see. Sorry if I'm giving anybody vertigo here. Don't mean to do that. Citing in, and then here's a little bit about how to add categories. And if you can't find one, request a new category or advice. Click there. It will take you to G2G. It will automatically link this profile. So the volunteer over on G2G has a profile and says, I can help. And they'll come over and help you right off the bat. The thing that I know a lot of people have struggled with the new design, and this is the biggest tip I can tell you, instead of scrolling like I always do, come up here to this big save, hit save, it takes you right to it. And then what I like to do, I have coded this in. Remember that little wheel where you can put in your own text? And I say AutoBio because it's such a drastic change from what it was. I think it deserves something. So I usually do AutoBio. If I add sources or categories as well, I can add that. It's something. Yeah. If you want to write the Great American Novel in here, feel free to do that too. I think you only have 100 characters, something like that. Feel free. Okay, so now I've got a profile that has a little bit more beef to it. It's got a little bit more biography, the inline sources, and I know they're inline because there's numbers here bringing it down. And shoot, you know what I forgot? I forgot to add the cemetery category. I don't think it added the cemetery category. So that tells me, as I come over to cemetery, I wonder if the cemetery is even in WikiTree. So it says Shinston Memorial Cemetery. So let's go back over to his profile. And why do we care about categories? Why do you ladies like categories?
I like it because I can go and look at the category and see if there are any other relatives or ancestors that have been categorized in that category, which I can add to my family tree. It just helps me, with adding more people. And then also with the category, sometimes there's a little blurb about the history of that place or that cemetery. So you learn a little bit more about that.
And I'm involved in a big community tree that I'm building for the area where my husband is from. And it's really nice to be able to have things in the category. If someone is looking for everyone who was from Valdena, they can go to the Valdena category and they can see, are any of my other relatives from Valdena? Yeah. I know my grandfather was. Do I have anybody else over there? And they can start looking. So by categorizing people, or do I have any other relatives in that cemetery? We also do a one name study for a lot of places and do, where are all the Zanres in the world? Let me go look at the one name study for Zanre and see where they all are. So, one name study for Smith can get kind of difficult, but a one name study for Zanre is pretty, pretty specific, we can really work on that.
And you mentioned the cemetery category says we're there. And these are kind of like brick wall busters as well at times, and also trying to connect dots through marriage or through relationships. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm at the cemetery category, so sometimes they do marry, and sometimes people do not always put the name in the last name at birth. Sometimes they accidentally do that. So if I click on this My Connections, I can start to look down and see, oh, I've got some ancestors here. And if you want 8 generations, what does that mean?
Cool.
I click on the little, I call it horseshoe, but it's not a horseshoe, but view the relationship. And that tells me that we are second cousins twice removed, and exactly how. So just these are little tricks. As if you put in the categories, this allows people to look and see what's going on, how they relate to people, how they research. And then something brand new that just happened with Hacktoberfest. This is like hot off the presses. Do I have any DNA test matches with anyone? So let me click on that. And again, because I put the category on the profile, we're polishing up that profile. We're hoping for cousin bait. We're hoping for more information. We're hoping for a really nice biography. We're hoping for a lot of data. And of course, when I click on the DNA test, it's one of those trees that's going to take a while. Sometimes it's quick. Sometimes it takes a while. But what will happen is it'll show you down below how you relate with them with the DNA test. Is it mitochondria? Is it an autosomal? And I have one. And this tells me that this is probably going to be through my ancestry test that I put the details on WikiTree. So that's kind of just hot off the presses over thing going on. Okay, but let's go back. And again, like Danita said, if you put in the categories, that opens up so much research for you and other people and cousin base and Google. If I search for this person or that cemetery on Google, it will, in WikiTree, it'll come up. So it's pretty cool. Now, what can I do to really, really improve this more? If I wanted to, I could put stickers. And I'm going to mention stickers because Canada and Italy have different stickers than what I would use. Yeah. So what stickers would you ladies use? And I say that I'm going to go up to my clipboard. Clipboard is a WBE, a WikiTree browser extension. I have, I adore Clipboard. Clipboard and Sorcerer are like hand in hand for me. So I already know that this gentleman was born in Pennsylvania. It happened to be in this area of Appalachia as I come down. And stickers. And this actually brings the sticker on the page for me, always under the biography header. Always. Stickers are always under biography. I think they're eye candy. What do you ladies think?
Yeah, I like the stickers. I do.
I just think it gives a little bit something. Now, here's something that I'm not sure if everybody knows. If they have a Wikipedia profile, then they are considered a notables on WikiTree. So what I like, you need to add the sticker. Yep. So it's that eye candy. So it's just notables space sticker. And if I spell it right, there we go. Sticker. There's some coding behind this sticker too. Okay, so I've added my stickers. I'm going to come down to save. I'm going to say I added the Appalachia sticker, and I'm going to change it and say in notables sticker. If you give a lot of information, it's going to be handy later down the road. So I'm going to click save. I'm improving my biography little by little, right, Catherine?
Yeah, there we go.
A little bit more. Now, what is the code behind the notable sticker? If your profile has a notable sticker, that's how you'll see the CC7 come up here, right under here. It's not showing for just us normal, everyday, non-Wikipedia, non-notable people, but for the notables, if it has that sticker or category, then it will populate the CC7. It takes a while to get through the database, so give it a little bit of time. And you remember I said the changes might be important. So if you come through the profile change history, and let's say you had a screaming, barking Yorkie that came across your desk and as you're in edit and really went through your keyboard and accidentally saved paw print input on your information, and you're like, oh shoot, I don't remember what I put up here. I don't remember everything by heart. So if you come up here to profile change history, you can see all the edits
Yeah.
And then if you want to restore because that Yorkie was bad, then you can come up to the particular one that they might have saved. Just click on the link and it'll show you what's changed. And if you don't like what's on the right-hand side, there's that quick little restore. Now, the one thing I want to mention, you don't want to go around restoring other people's stuff left and right and back and forth. You don't want to do that. That's not collaborative and that's not kind as well. If you think that somebody made a oopsie or if you've got a lot of information to add, then we do ask that you add a comment and just give some details. And that way you are now collaborating and communicating versus really doing some major construction work on the profile. And I like when Danita, you mentioned the Smith name. So let's say his last name is Smith and you're totally lost because there are 15 Robert Smiths that died on the same month in the same town. This is how you can also ask a question. Or get verification help. And verification help basically will send you to research help on G2G. Ask a question is help, help, please help. And I can see the Smiths are definitely it. Okay, so I'm getting better. I'm getting there. Catherine, where else should I look to try and get information to fill in the narrative besides the birth, marriage, and death?
Okay, well, I was going to tell you to go back to them and do the marriage, because if you look in your sources and you scroll down for the marriage, it already tells you right there, right, who his parents are, who his wife is, and who her parents are. So you could add that information, just copy and paste that right there into the narrative. And that would give the marriage information, and then you'd have to add in his wife. And we profile for her.
We would consider this when we add in this as the parents. If we add in the parents as well, because this is a valid source.
Right.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because we talk about this with connection checkers every Tuesday. So if we did that, then we would be able to confirm. And just going to click on this edit family. We would be able to confirm the parents because we have at least one valid source that we're going to do. So that's a really great thing too. But I did something. I added the notable sticker and I added the Wikidata and the Wikipedia. So Catherine, I really want to come over here and I want to grab this information because this information is really cool. I'm not a great writer. I don't think I could write as well as this group of collective writers has written. So you know what I'm going to do, Catherine? I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to copy everything. And then I'm just
Stop. You don't want to do that, Sandy. Do you know why? Do you know why, my friend, you do not want to do that?
I think it's something called copyright, but I'm not sure.
You are correct. That is a massive copyright violation. Yes, as tempted as we may be to copy and paste a lovely biography off of Wikipedia or anywhere else you may find, like the Canadian Biographical Dictionary, you can't do that. Okay, you cannot copy and paste that biographical information. Thank you, because it's plagiarism and it violates copyright, and you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. And you don't want to do that
too. We don't want to get WikiTree.
Well, that's just it. WikiTree gets WikiTree in trouble too. So, you have to. You can copy some of that information and make sure that you're putting in a footnote and that you are correctly putting in the source citation for that footnote. But you can't copy the whole thing. You just can't. You're going to have to use some editing skills. You're going to have a little bit of writing skills and add the information that you see here off of Wikipedia, condense it, and put it into the biography. And again, making sure that you add Wikipedia to your list of sources and making sure you've got a link that links back to the bio for your person on Wikipedia or wherever you're getting that information from.
And I'm going to take this one because it said one, and there's a bio here from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So if I wanted to be kind of lazy, you know, you can go through a citation machine and they're all over on the web. But if I want to be kind of lazy, I can copy this and I can come over here where I copied what they said. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this an inline because I want it to stay together. So to do an inline, you just do the bracket, the ref, and I'm going to paste in what I found, but I got to close it. You have to close this. So I'm going to do bracket slash ref. But if you notice, I'm like, oh, it does tell me everything. But what is this retrieved October 9th? Oh, I got to come back over here. This is not good. This is not October 9th. So I'm going to click on this link and say, is it still valid? It is. And then I'm going to copy the link from there. And I'm going to come back over because as Catherine told us, we want to make sure that our sources are appropriate and we like to add links. So I'm going to highlight what I want to link. And you can either add a bracket or you can come up here to this little link that shows it's a link. Yeah. And it shows me the text. Now I need to add at the very beginning of the bracket, I need to add the website ID. Okay, but now we got a problem. This is not 2017. So now I need to change it. And this is the second, right? Or no, this third. Third.
Yeah.
Good grief, where's this year gone? Okay, so let me see if I did this right, because I'm not sure if I did this right. So let me see. I want to make sure that I keep everything proper and legal. So it's a little cluttered together, but that's all right. I can fix it. But here's my link that I just created. And I just confirmed it worked, and it's there. Okay, so let me come back up here a little bit because it just needs a little bit more space. Now, what I learned is that his nickname is Jumbo Joe. So I can add that. That's important because he might have been named Jumbo out on the field. He might have been named around town. So you see where it says other nicknames? Yeah. I can put that there. And again, we're building this profile. We're building the narrative as we go through. And then as I already have it source, that's what he was called. But you know what I forgot? I forgot his occupation. So I need to come up here. I have no clue if WikiTree has football players as an occupation. And there we go. American football players. You see where I didn't type American? I didn't type everything in. It gives me a list. So I'm going to add that as well. And then I'm going to click save. Now I can say categorization. I can say bio improvement if I want to shortcut it. And I added a source all at the same time and confirm this information. Now look at this profile. We've got Jumbo Joe showing. We've got stickers. We have a little bit of information about his name and the source that goes with it. Okay, Catherine. You know what I'm going to say next. I got to have a picture.
Yep.
So I like this picture. Well, I want this picture.
Do you think, Sandy, you can snag that picture and put it on?
I do.
WikiTree? Do you?
Because it's on the web. It's free if it's on the web.
No, unfortunately,
that's what I heard.
You can't, as much as you might like to. Again, you're going to get WikiTree in trouble if you do that. So you cannot just snag it off the web. Unfortunately, well, okay, wait a minute.
It says
look and see. Does it say it says public domain? Click through. I don't know where are they getting that picture from?
The unknown author. It's the famous unknown author. You remember? Just stating myself. You remember the comic that used to wear the paper bag over his head with eyes? That's what I feel these unknown authors are on other sites. I really want it, Catherine.
I'm looking at the date of that yearbook that was published in 1936.
Yeah.
Is it out of copyright? Is it in public domain? I don't know. I don't know about US sources. So I don't know if that book is in public domain in the US or not.
Well, let's keep looking because there's more sources, and I'm going to throw you a little tricky one.
All right, yeah.
So I was at the museum and I took the picture. Not really, but let's just say I took the picture of this jersey at this museum. It is my picture.
Okay.
At this museum. Can I use it? Even though the museum owns this jersey.
Did you ask to you would still, I think you would still have to get permission from the museum or archive to publicly post that photo on a public website. It's different if it's just for your own personal research, but if you're going to publish it, and that's what you're doing, if you're adding it to a website, is you are publishing that photo. You would have to get I would think you would have to get the permission of the museum or archive before you could do that.
And I have not stolen any bird photos. I promise. So that was the question that came up. I have not. Okay, now I've got another one that says public domain US. Author information unknown.
Okay, click through. You got to click through on that link and see where it takes us.
It takes us here. Let's see.
What's it telling us?
Copyright term for 25 years and copyright not renewed, and it's now public domain.
Okay, I'm not familiar with US copyright, so I can't tell you yes or no if that's true. I don't know.
This one, so since it is for the 25 years since it has passed, that usually is the basic copyright. So I think we can use this one because this one, and I will tell you that in these type of cases, unless this was a professional NFL type of photo, they do renew their photos and their copyrights. So I'm going to use this one. And it says I have a few different options. I'm just going to pick one of them. And so it brings us up. What you do here for Wikipedia, you just kind of save the image as, and it has it as Joe Styadar. So I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to come over here. And I like this photo, so I'm going to add it. You can, if there's no profile photo, you can just click there. You can add it through images below. If there's photos, you can also add upload photo. So I'm going to pick that photo that I just had real quick. And wow, do I really have to say where I got it from, Catherine? Can I just say I like it?
As a good genealogist, as a good family historian, yes, you want to put that where you got it from, just in case there's any question about where did you get that information, Sandy? Where did you get that photo from, Sandy? Then that takes care of that right there.
And it's also, I think, handy to give a link as well. So let me do a little bit of pre-work before we get to the citation. And while we're doing that, Danita, we have a question, I think, from Lynn. And Lynn, let me make sure I get this right. What happens when a profile is inline citations and now you've got new information and can write a better profile? Danita, what would you do if you got a basic, and it is managed by an active WikiTree?
Okay, well, it really depends, right? There are two ways you could look at it. One is you can leave a comment and say, I have some information about this. If it's the way I look at it is this: if it's an active WikiTree and we share a common ancestor, I might feel like I should just go ahead and add some information in and maybe put a comment that I've added that information so they know. While we treat managers as having a certain authority over the profile, mostly to know what's going on, they can easily see what's happening, and they have some abilities as far as do they approve merges and things like that. WikiTree is a shared platform, and we share ancestors. And If someone manages my great-great-grandfather, I feel like I can add to my great-great-grandfather's profile. Now, if it's somebody that's totally, I don't know anything about them and I just feel I have some new information, I would probably reach out to the manager and say, you know, I have some information. Is it okay if we add this? And I usually do that just by making a comment. I have found some new information. When I get those comments on mine, I say, oh, great. Would you go and add it in? Because I want to empower them. Go do this. This is okay. I'm happy for you to collaborate with me, and I just don't want to have to do their work. If they have great information, I ask them to go do it. Go have at it.
Okay, and then let's see. So, Lynn, you were asking the more technical how to do it. Now, I can tell you if a profile has inline sources and the bullet item, the asterisk sources, I use AutoBio. What do you guys do?
I tend to use AutoBio, but you can also add in, as long as you don't mess with the ref and the close ref tag, you can do any kind of editing you want. You just don't want to, you know, break up or remove one of those tags, because then that will mess it up. But you can add new paragraphs. You can, you know, change things that are already in there. Like, you know, if you don't think the language needs to be cleaned up, you'd like to fix some grammar, or you want to do something else, that's fine. As long as you don't mess around with the beginning tag and the end tag, it's not going to hurt the inline citation for you to actually do some cleanup to the profile.
A lot of times, they could have added it during a thon or during a JegCom upload, and they would appreciate a little bit of extra work. And I really like that you said, Danita, if it's going to be my great-great-grandfather, we're sharing this person, I would love new information about them. So I think this is kind of where WikiTree's One Tree comes into play as being such a great resource of collaboration that we go through. Okay. And so Lynn, usually what I do, if I've got a mix, I will do AutoBio, and it will kind of handle that for me as well. Okay, so I've got a little bit of information. I've got a little bit more biography. There's other places that we could go to find information, and what I did is I went to newspapers.com, who tells me a little bit more. Catherine, what can I do here? I can use it as a source, that I know, and I'm just gonna copy it as a source and bring it over. But can I, and this is a little trick too that works. So if you notice for that clipping, if you come down to the bottom, you can see that it doesn't do a great job, but it does transcribe, but it doesn't do a great job. Can I copy?
It has problem with columns.
Yeah. It really does. Can I copy that and use that as the obituary if I'm citing it as well?
See, in Canada, we would have to ask, does that fall into the realm of fair use? I don't know what it's called in the US.
Same thing. It's called fair use in the US.
Okay. So that's something you have to ask. And then, so it was published in 1977. So I don't know what the copyright is on newspapers but I know in Canada, like for 1977, you would not be able to reprint the whole or add in the whole entire obituary from the newspaper, because it'd be plagiarism and copyright violation. So you might be able to do like 1 or 2 paragraphs and then add in your source with the link to it, but you're not.
See more.
What's that, Danita?
I said, see more at.
Yeah, right. But you can't really.
Don't do this. Don't copy and paste. Now I'm going to ask
and paste the whole thing.
Very big thing that this happened last year on a larger scale. And as we know, if we're looking at modern day obituaries, and if you do copy some of the information, they're living people.
That's right.
That's a no-no. Why is that a no-no?
Yeah, that's Right. So there you go. He's got 4 children listed there. Right. Are those children still living? Right.
I checked and they were.
Right. So yeah, like things like that you have to be very careful with. And we had discussed this earlier on the panel discussion about privacy laws. So you have to be very careful about publishing anything about living people. Canada, for instance, we have much stricter privacy laws than in the United States. It kind of astounds me when I research people in my family tree for the United States of America, just doing a Google search, how much stuff comes up on living people. It's very different in Canada. People complain. I have researchers reaching out to me and say, how come it's so hard to find living people in Canada? Because we have much stricter privacy laws. So, you have to be very careful when you are publishing information on WikiTree. My rule of thumb is, a person is living, I don't publish information about them. That's just my own personal blanket rule of thumb, because then I know I'm not going to get into trouble. I'm not getting anybody else into trouble. I don't have to worry about it if I'm not publishing information about living people.
And the argument will be, I'm going to play devil's advocate. But Catherine, it's already up there on the web. It's free if it's on the web. I can talk about anybody if they're up there on the web. And did you know those 4 kids, they have an Instagram, they have a Facebook account, they have all this, and they put their obituary up there. And as we talked about in the panel, whose story is this? Why is it important to put some of this information on living people? It's not, right?
It's not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this Joseph Steidehar, or however you pronounce his last name, he's the person we're focusing on, right? He's the notable, not his kids.
Yeah.
And not only that, just because somebody else, it's kind of like just because someone else does it, just because it's already on the internet, doesn't mean that they were right doing it either, or that it's something that is acceptable in other situations. So we need to go by WikiTree's rules. We don't put anything about living people that they haven't authorized.
Right.
So and just because we found it somewhere else, I mean, I have to tell you, I am a sleuth when it comes to finding someone's tree on Ancestry that I have a database I have a match with, and they have a private tree. Well, honey, I'm going to find you. because like you say, we can find so much on the internet, and I always kind of chuckle when someone says, oh, I'm keeping my stuff private, because the likelihood is the fact that I know that I am related to them somehow, I'm going to find out who their parents are. I'm going to find out, all this kind of stuff. But that doesn't mean I publish it on WikiTree once I find it, right? That's something private for me. I have figured something out. I know who these people are, but I can't just use it because I was able to dig it up myself in public, so-called public information, that I should then disseminate that again in some other format. So
what you're saying is you've checked all of us already. She's got a file on all of us.
I've got a file on everybody.
I'm
met a possible cousin. I met a possible cousin through something totally different from my work. It was weird. And we can't figure out yet how we're related. And I told her today, well, I'm getting ready to do my research on you guys, and I'll let you know what I find out. She just laughed.
I love it. Okay, so we got a couple of questions. That's so funny. So I agree with it is on the internet, but as Catherine Janita said, that doesn't mean we need to put it on WikiTree if they're already out there and their information's there. So Kurt is asking about the preferred name. So there's a proper first name and there's a preferred name. The reason why I did not change it to Joe is because I don't truly have a great source for it to say Joe. I always have it as Joseph. If I sometimes have it as Joe, then I will. And here's where it becomes really interesting. We talked about this at Ancestor Show and Tell, and I believe it was you, Kurt, that talked about it this morning, that your people went by their middle name. They didn't go by the first name. And in that case, I would probably have census. So if it was like John Franklin Pickering, then I would probably use John as a proper first name. But if all the census came up as Franklin Pickering and things like that, then I would use the preferred name as Franklin. But as this is just me. This is not anything. This is just me. I prefer to have the full names if I don't know for a fact there's a nickname. This also helps with duplicates, making sure there's not a lot of duplicates. And you would never put a nickname like Jumbo Joe as a proper name because he could be called that for a while. And so is it the preferred intended to elicit the name he went by on David? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So for your case, even though your people went by their middle name, and this is probably not the best way to do it, but I still do it. So if his name was John Franklin Pickering, I would put the proper name is John. The preferred name is Franklin because that's what he went by as Franklin. And even though it's his middle name, I'm putting it there too. So I don't know. How do you guys do it? That I figured it goes in both places.
I do that too. I put it in both places. And again, it can make it look kind of funny when you're looking at the whole name.
Right.
But I figured that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And my dad was James until he was in his 50s. No one ever called him anything but James. And then people started calling him Jim. And he started going by Jim in his 50s. So it's kind of like you look at that, you go, well, was he a James or was he a Jim? For the majority of his life, he was a James. But a very short period of his life, people started calling him Jim. And so it's kind of like, well, I would just use Jim as another nickname, not necessarily his preferred name, because even though he allowed people to call him that, it wasn't really what he identified as being James his whole life, right? So if you know somebody, you have a better idea. If you're just doing someone you don't know like this, you have to go by what you can find.
And remember, the more information we do add, so if I had some type of source that he really did go by Joe all the time, if I did have that, I would definitely add it, and the sources would back me up. And that only helps with cousin bait when people are searching, because they might not say Joseph Steinhardt, they might say Joe, or they might just say, hey, Jumbo Joe. So that does help by adding and being more specific. I've got a weird family. We tend to mostly go by our full first names, which is very odd to people. But, it's just weird. In the South and in Appalachia, if we don't have a really weird nickname, we tend to go by our full names. So it's just kind of
the cousin bait thing is really true, because I have my husband's great uncle. His name was Andrea, which is Andrew, right? Yeah. And they called him Uncle Andrew, but almost everybody in his family called him Andrea, but a whole slew of the family called him Andrew, and they may never look for Andrew Zonre on WikiTree, but they might look for Andrea, so or vice versa. So if you don't put them both in there, people aren't going to realize that they exist.
You might get only half of the family. Okay, now I will tell everybody in chat, we can keep on going for a while because we're having fun with this. We can keep on going, but we are running out of time. I just wanted to mention one or two little shiny things real quick. There is something called block quotes, and I got this, and this is in the obituary. I already know this. I already kind of pre-planned this. So let me come down here. A block quote kind of makes the information stand out and give you a little bit more. So we see that when he registered for the draft, he was already on the Chicago Bears football team. So I'm just going to give myself some spaces here, and I already pre-did this to make it just a little quicker. So I have a block quote where the Bears owner had said Joe is something special for me. And let me show you what that looks like. And I keep forgetting, hit that save button. And I'm going to add that I added the block quote. Just real quick, something to trigger somebody's memory. And what that does is it makes it stand out a little bit. So if you are working with your grandparents and they said something, we had this in the panel, that the phrase of the family was, that seems about right. You could put my grandfather always said, that seems about right. And you don't have to have the little Bears owner George Hallis thing, you could just say, that's something I always remember. Or if you really want something to stand out, my grandmother made the best biscuits in town and won blue ribbons over it. Something like that, just to make it stand out a little bit more. And we could do some other fun things, but we're running out of time. So I'm going to leave it to you ladies. Do you guys have anything that you'd like to think about? I know we need to beef up the biography still, right, Catherine?
Yeah.
And we can do that by going to family photos. We can go to it by Wikipedia. We can go to it by family histories, local historical sites. I bet you that NFL has some biographies too, but be careful of copyright. But you could definitely link those and use a little bit of the information. What else could we add?
Well, one of the things that I do as a guide for the Trans Canada Orphan Trail is in the edit part, in the data section, is clicking on those confidence buttons. So how confident are you with the information that you found? And that's helpful, especially if it's uncertain. So, say for instance, one of the locations that you found or a date that you found, and you're just not 100% sure about it. So like the preferred name, we just had that discussion. You're just not 100% sure, you can hit that uncertain button. And then if somebody else comes along and they find something that names him as Joe, then they can go back and they can say, oh, here's the source for it. They can put that in the bio. They can go back to the data section and then they can click that certain button and change that confidence. So those are very helpful when someone is looking at a bio and they're missing the complete date. They might just have the year, or they might have just the day and the month, and you happen to find the record that gives the complete date. So those things are very helpful.
I use the estimated date banner a lot because I do a lot of things where I have a birth record for somebody. And I was saying I was building this community tree and I have a birth record. So I have a child's date of birth and name, and I have parents' names. And a lot of times in some of these old church records, they do not say how old the parents are. So I have to just guess, well, if this child was born in 1820, my rule of thumb is I say 30 years until I find other children. So I would have an estimated date, and I would say based on birth of child, or based on, something like that, or based on age of spouse. If I know the spouse's age, but I don't know the other one. So I use the estimated date a lot. That way that also helps people think, oh, well, he was born in 1820 and I know someone who was born in 1812, so it can't be him. Right. And if you're really clear that it's an estimated date, that gives people a better idea that these could be the same person. Yes. I also like some of the stickers. Like I like the, unfortunately working with community trees, I get a lot of died young people. I get a lot of twins, I like using those kinds of stickers that kind of give someone, you show that they were special, that they were a twin, or sometimes triplets or whatever. I have triplets in my family. Honest to God, named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And
Rack, Shack, and Benny.
Rack, Shack, and Benny, 1770. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And Shadrach became the family name that really passed down a lot. The others kind of fell by the wayside. But, I have the triplet. They were a set of triplets and multiple birth kind of things. Anything you can put in there that just kind of helps pop the bio can be really useful.
I like adding the immigration sticker if the person is an immigrant coming into the United States or Canada. That's helpful too when people are looking at that profile. Oh, okay. Well, if that's the immigrant, next question is, okay, what about their parents? Were they immigrants too, or were they just in the old country? So those can be some clues as well. When you're researching that person.
I'm going to add to that too. And if you're doing that and they were on a ship, we probably maybe have the passenger ship as well. Yeah. And if you add the passenger ship as a category, then you can search on that category and look at the passenger list And you might see that some families were separated on the passenger list, and you might find that, or just really poor handwriting. And it was transcribed. So I'm gonna say we've got one more thing. Now we could do a lot more work on it. If anybody would like to go and improve this, feel free after us. We don't mind. We might be the profile managers, but this is WikiTree collaboration. Please, I saw a lot of suggestions. We just ran out of time, so feel free to come in. But I'm going to add one last little trick that you could do to help WikiTree. Now we talked about protecting WikiTree from copyright issues, but I'm going to do something, and this is one of Azure's favorite things. And those of you in the audience, I know that you know this, link builders. So almost everybody does not see this little thing that says copy citation. So I'm going to click on cite, and then I'm going to come over here to his family search, and at the top, add a source. I'm going to click add a source. There's my citation. And you can put a date if you want. Usually I don't, but I'm going to put just his name, S-T-Y. Of course, I picked one that on WikiTree. And then I can come back over here and just grab his URL. Oh, wrong one. Where'd I go? There we go. And then it confirms his name, the sex, because I've got the source is actually already from Family Search, his birth, his death, and his burial. And then I'm going to click save. And this is a shout out to Azure that we officially did a link builder.
Oh, and show how you can go in and add it to the challenge. You better get a challenge point, Sandy.
Yeah,
because
I should.
for
If
sure.
you notice, it says challenge tracker. And if you don't have this here, you can come up here to his name, and challenge tracker's there. So let me see. Yeah, because I need to show this off. So Azure knows.
go to the link builders.
Link builders. There you go. Go, girl.
Family search. Add point.
You can do it on WikiTree. I mean, you can do it on Wikipedia.
I was going to say the same thing.
I will say that's a really good point, because I do a tremendous amount of work on Wikidata, adding profiles and locations on WikiTree, on Wikidata itself. And
so Wikidata and Wikipedia would be great places to add another link. So when people are there, they get brought back to WikiTree.
Right, so it's free advertising for
WikiTree.
WikiTree.
Challenge. Thank you. I could have double and triple dipped here, because this was also an Appalachia sticker I added, and sourcers. I added sourcers and link builder. Wow, I could have really done a really good job here. Just one profile gives me a lot of trackers, so that's great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I hope you had fun. I know that we had fun. I love working with Danita and Catherine. This has been so much information that we gave you guys, but I think the main thing to know, have some biography, have some sources, get WikiTree browser extension, get WikiTree B, and get Sourcer. If you have any questions, come see us over in the WikiTree Week Discord channel. We'll be there.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.